With great power comes a lot of Kris whining. Because this week we're discussing two films that technically are superhero films. So get ready to hear a lot about Nolan, a lot about Tarantino. Even though we're only talking movies, we're talking Spider-Man No Way Home and Matrix Resurrection. Kris, let's Scooby-Doo this shit.
I still know Kung Fu.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? This is our fourth installment of Best of 2021. Next week's episode will be our final picks for the year. Some of these films will make it, some of them won't, so definitely tune into that. We're talking about Spider-Man and the Matrix films, the reloads, reboots, sequels, whatever you want to call them. Scott, take us away.
Well, mine was just a sequel. And I think yours was just a sequel too, so I don't think it was a reboot. Right?
Isn't this like the third? How many Spider-Mans is this with their current Spider-Man or Peter Parker?
This is the third. This is the end of the Home trilogy.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'll start. So first, I'll just start like in terms of the year 2021 and Marvel in general. I would say they started strong, finished strong, but lacked a lot in the middle. Like they, WandaVision, like their shows, I think outperformed in terms of quality the films that were released, with the exception of this one. This one was the cherry on top. Like,
hold on. So you said they started strong. So what would be your strong start?
WandaVision.
Oh, you're
was
talking
the
about
first
the show.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So because this was the first year that they had the official Marvel shows that were run by Kevin Feige, and the films that kind of correlated. So that way, the movies and the shows were supposed to like continue the saga instead of just waiting for end credit scenes to see what was going next. The shows WandaVision, Loki. I haven't watched that What If, and Hawkeye did really well. Spider-Man.
So they basically all expand on a universe that's already established, opposed to like, because I noticed with like Hawkeye, they have the same actor. What's his name is playing Hawkeye, correct?
Yeah, because he's Hawkeye. So that, and the same actor who did Loki is playing Loki in the show, right? That's
Okay, cool.
That's everybody needs a payday.
Whoa, don't say that. Like, because there definitely is examples of like where there's a film version and then there's like the Flash, for example, right? The same Flash wasn't the
but that's actor. Different. Like, this is the first time that technically like these shows are technically the extensions of the movies, right?
Gotcha.
So it's just continuing the story. Instead of just making a Hawkeye movie, you're going to have a 6-hour TV show, right? And then go from there, introduce the new characters, introduce kind of where their new phases are going to go. In terms of the films themselves, this year they released Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and Eternals. Not counting Spider-Man, but I'll say I was disappointed in each one of those films.
Isn't Eternals directed by Nomadland's director?
Yeah, Chloe Zhao.
Yeah. Because those are almost similar types
that
of
one
film.
had Marvel's first sex scene.
Oh,
right?
Nice.
Yeah. So it took like 20 years, but they got, a superhero had sex. But what I was saying in terms of disappointing, and literally what you're saying, in terms of similar, each one of those films had the similar plot in terms of story. It was hero reconnecting with their estranged family. Twist, one of the estranged family members betrays them, and then they overcome at the end.
So it is Nomadland, except that nobody got totally betrayed, but like kind of disliked.
No, that was all three of those movies. That was Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and Eternals. Well, who did she get portrayed in Nomadland?
Well, that's what I said. Remember, like they kind of didn't love her lifestyle of like living on the road again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When she goes to the family reunion thing, or she stops off at the house.
Yeah, but yeah, so and I think that was the thing. Like for me, like Eternals was the first film this year that I went to the actual theaters to see.
And you were not impressed.
I was well, I was 100% disappointed in it because it was paint by numbers, and every twist, that was supposed to be shocking, you saw coming. But with this film, with Spider-Man, I think what they did was, I know people are saying this is the best Spider-Man movie that's been released in terms of theaters. And I think having the nostalgia boot, but also, praising what came before and moving the character forward was amazing to watch.
Okay.
Especially
so
seeing
first off,
all
I'm
these.
going to ask you a couple questions then. So in your opinion, is it the best of the Tom Holland ones?
Yes.
Is it the best of all the Spider-Mans?
No.
Okay, what would you call it? What would it be your favorite? Is it Tobey Maguire?
I
feel like there was a
terms of,
Spider-Man in between there too. Wasn't there one
yeah,
after
Andrew Garfield.
That's right.
In terms of like, if I had to do my like top 5, you wanted Spider-Man movies? Is
I
that
was
what
going to
you're
say
asking?
top 1, but sure, go ahead. You can give me 5.
Okay, I'll go 5. I'll go from bottom to the top. I'll go
Starting from the bottom, now you're right here.
Yeah, I'll go Maguire's first one, Spider-Man.
So the first Spider-Man is actually number 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Holland Homecoming. Third, I would do this one.
Oh shit. Okay.
No Way Home. Number 2 would be Spider-Man 2 with Maguire.
Okay.
And number 1 would be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the cartoon that got released like 2 years ago.
Yeah. I actually have heard that one is pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah, it is.
I thought you were
good.
going to say the original TV show from like, what was it, the 70s or the 80s?
Spider-Man.
Has a cool soundtrack. Woo!
It did have a cool. Didn't the Ramones do one too?
Yeah, they did. Well, they did a cover of that, like Spider-Man, Spider-Man. So I just did a quick look at the cast. So Zendaya plays MJ.
Well, no, she's not Mary Jane. She's Michelle Jones.
Not Mary Jane. Nice. What?
Yeah, she's not. Her name's Michelle Jones.
Oh, so she's MJ, but not the MJ.
Exactly, and
Not
I think
Jackson.
that's why. I think that's why it worked out kind of like really good. Like if you're going in this trilogy, right? Like you have his friends, who
Is she in the first one?
She's in the first one.
Oh, okay,
but
okay.
her name was Michelle, and then at the end was like, my friends call me MJ, right? And everybody's like, oh, you fucking MJ. But yeah, and then he falls in love with her in the second one, and then the third one, the shit happens. I won't give it away, but at the end you kind of lose it. But then that's when you realize like it's not like she's not Mary Jane, right? And it's literally the path you go from behind, like the people that get you to where you're gonna go, right? Or as I would say, your Tinder profile, it's the swipes to the left that you got to the next swipe to the left.
Oh, okay. I don't know how that reference really ties in, but I'll let you have that. It's doing fucking amazing at the box office. Like
I think it'll hit $1 billion
budget, and it's at I think 800.
Yeah,
million?
I think by year end it'll hit $1 billion in terms of box office. And the thing that's like, because I think we're Canada is the only ones that's 50% capacity, right? Like everything else is at full capacity.
Okay.
Like around the world, like I don't know for sure.
I don't know. I know that like Germany and stuff, their restrictions have changed. I know Britain's talking about it, but you're right. Like we only know like what our restrictions. And remember, it's even different provinces are different for those that know anything about Canada.
So if it was not a pandemic, I think this one would have hit $1 billion opening
already. Yeah,
I think it would have hit $1 billion on opening day, to be honest, like opening weekend. It would have had that record. But it's enjoyable.
You see it in the theater? You saw it in the theater?
Yeah,
right?
I did, and that was the thing. I went right after our restrictions changed, so to sit for the movie with your mask on and not have popcorn, not have drinks, and just kind of sitting there kind of thing, it did. It was an experience I did not like at all, because like whole going to the theater is, you know, is all about the concessions and stuff like that, because that's what helps the theater chain
Oh, well,
itself,
you made some
right?
concessions to go to the theater. You just didn't get any concessions to go to the
No,
theater.
yeah, but what I'm saying, like in terms of like my understanding of the theater chain, and you know, you would probably know more than me, but where the cinemas get their, like where they're making their profits, where they're making their
It's
overhead
the
is
like
on
$50 popcorn. Yeah, 100% of
exactly
this.
right.
Yeah.
So to not go there, and you're kind of not supporting the chain, you're just kind of supporting the movie itself, kind of thing. That's why, like it left me a little sour, kind of thing, right? Because it's all about going to the theater to have that, so the theaters can kind of keep on going. Because
Yeah, because it doesn't really matter if the movie makes $1 billion in the theater. If the theater sees none of that, they still go out of business.
yeah, exactly, right. So I don't know how much.
How long is this movie?
It's on the sweet spot. Like it's not super long, if I'm not mistaken. It was. I'm just double checking, because it didn't feel long at all. Like
Are they normally long though? Like, or is
I
this
think it was like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Yeah, it was 2.5 hours. So, but it didn't feel that at all. Like John Watts, the director, they kept everything going, right? Like it was just one after another. And especially when you're like, I'm going to fight this villain, then I'm going to fight this villain, then you have this reveal, then, you know, going to fight this villain, then we're going to all team up, kind of thing. It just kept it going, kept it entertained, right?
Do you think it will? I mean, I read a couple things like that it may actually get an Oscar nod.
I think it will win in terms of
From the special effects, like the technical
yeah,
work?
special effects, sound mixing. I can see it winning there too, because there
Does it have a
was
song? Do you think is there like a
No,
Spiderman
this isn't a
song done by
Disney.
Beyonce
This isn't
or
a,
something like that?
yeah, no, this isn't a Disney
I'm
movie.
a swinging lady. I'm a swinging lady. Get your hands up.
No, it doesn't have a song, but I'm trying to think. No, it didn't have a song. The Rogers musical was from Hawkeye, but yeah, it was fun to watch, and it is entertaining. And like, to go back to our conversation like last week about The Last Duel and stuff like that, like these are the kind of movies you would go to the theater for, right? Like,
yeah, you don't want to watch it at home on your television.
No, and not only that, like I think like when they have the reveals and stuff, and then like everybody's like going on the same ride together, like strangers or whatever, and you're all cheering at the same spots, you're all like immersed in this film and stuff. That's what makes it fun to go do, right? Instead of like watching fucking Matt Damon swing a sword.
And I mean, you know, we've talked about this briefly, and so Paul Thomas Anderson, he's got Licorice Pizza out right now. You know, he's a super arty director, and he thinks that these kind of films are what will save theaters for artistic films, because just like you're not going to make the money on the little indie picture. But again, especially when concessions are open, like if you can have a fucking Marvel movie, even if as an artist you don't want to go watch it, it's keeping the fucking lights on. You know what I mean? So like we now live in a world where those two things become two sides of the same coin that are keeping the cinema experience available to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think everything's circular. I think, like, to be honest, I think Netflix and all that stuff, like the originals they put out, help theaters as well, right? Like you can watch, you know, what's the new Leonardo one that came out? Like Don't Look Up.
Don't Look Up. Yeah.
Yeah, you can watch that, right? And then
how does that help theaters again? Sorry, if I can watch it at home, how does it help theaters?
Because odds are, like Adam McKay, like who directed it, like Vice was amazing. The Big Short was amazing, right?
Oh, you mean because it keeps money, like it keeps money going into filmmakers so that they then can go do something else.
Exactly.
So it helps
right?
cinema. It doesn't necessarily help theaters. It helps like the artistic side of film.
Yes.
Or filmmaking.
Sure, if that's what you want to say, you know. If you
that is what I want to say. That's why I fucking said it. So
yeah. You know, I'm just saying it helps, right? Like it's the it just keeps, because you have to have different plates spinning for everything, right? So you got to have the home, you got to have the theater, drive-ins, fuck, right, whatever,
Yeah, man.
even the community theater where your friends like a cowboy or a psychiatrist who is kind of an asshole, or the cowboy that's kind of an asshole. Right? Like those things keep it going too,
right? So what's your recommendation for Spider-Man?
Yeah, I definitely recommend it.
See it in the theater too, right?
Yeah. I keep like going because it's super enjoyable, it's super fun, and it is a roller coaster ride. There's gonna be some times where, Kris, you're gonna cry in it too, right?
I heard it gives you the feels, so
it gives you all the feels, right?
I'm actually planning. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I think every single person did a good job. And I think in terms of how, when we first started this podcast, we talked about, is there a perfect trilogy, like one that ends great as it begins? And I think so. Like, it's ruined because I think they already announced another 3 movies with Tom Holland. But if it was just these 3 movies, I think this would be up there as one of the better, if not best, trilogies.
I will have to take your word for it because I haven't watched the other 2 because it's not really my jam, but maybe I will. Maybe I will check them out. I mean, I got some time over the holidays. Yeah, is there anything else you want to say about Spider-Man before we move on to The Matrix Resurrections?
You know what? No, I want to hear about The Matrix because, just like you, this is on my watch. I was supposed to actually watch it yesterday, but shit fucking came up, so I might watch it tonight unless you talk shit about it. Then
like, are you definitely gonna watch it, or are you gonna try and find a...
No, I want watch it in theater, right? I want,
because so it did. Okay, so The Matrix Resurrections is available in theater. It has it's Warner Brothers, so it has the simultaneous 30-day release on HBO Max. At this point, I could not find it on HBO here, like Crave. So I don't know if it's only in the US.
That's only in the US stuff. For us on Crave, it would be the 45-day window.
Gotcha.
So 45 days after it's done theaters, that it comes up on our Crave for HBO Max.
That's
Canada.
That's good to know. So first off, before I say that, I watched The Harder They Fall. That movie's fucking a waste of fucking time.
Really?
It's fucking garbage. Take Tarantino's name out of your mouth. Oh, and for those listening, that's a bingo. Yeah, I mean, the cinematography's good, but I mean, the script is garbage. The color fucking palette is fucking garbage. It has no sense of itself. It doesn't know. You know what? And I talked to our producer before we started the show, and I was saying how it disappointed me the way this Five Bloods did. And I think that I maybe went into it with the wrong expectations. I think I really want to see that Black Western, just like I really wanted to see that Black Vietnam experience. And I got like some kind of mediocre bullshit version of that. Anyway, moving on. So Matrix Resurrection. I saw it in the theater. It was definitely, I'm glad I saw it in the theater. That said, if you don't get to see it in the theater, it is totally watchable at home.
No,
go ahead.
Like the first Matrix, I remember going to theaters to watch that, and to be honest, not even really knowing what it was about. All I really remember was the poster of them in the black leather, and
you were like, "That's so hot."
I was like fucking Keanu. I'm like, I haven't seen him in a while. But it blew my mind because it was like technology, like what they did with their shots and the whole bullet time and all that stuff. Now,
and the wire foo and stuff like that they
like
action films.
Now, did they advance it like in this film? Like, so this is what I want to know. Do you want me
to actually talk about this movie, or
no? I want you to answer this fucking question before you get into it. Because I can already tell you're gonna fucking like start bashing this shit. But my question is, do they advance it at all, or is it just like a nostalgia feel? Like, remember when we did this?
Okay, so first off, my quote about this film is essentially along the lines of like, we didn't need another Matrix film, But if we were gonna have one, I'm glad this is the one.
Company Warner Brothers has decided to make a sequel to the trilogy.
What?
They're gonna do it with or without us.
I thought they couldn't do that.
Because it doesn't try and do. So first off, I actually went and watched The Matrix Resurrections first. I didn't want to taint anything with like watching the older films or anything. And I was like, that was a good film, and I'll get into that. Then I watched The Matrix, and I'm like, from 1999, I'm like, okay, how does this fucking movie stand up? That fucking movie's amazing. Okay, I would say that it's like Aliens in the sense that even though like because they use so many like practical effects, there's like solid story, there's solid acting, there's solid cinematography, it's still good. Like even the like, because a lot of it, although they use green screens, it's the wire martial arts. So those still transcend the 20 some odd years, right? That said, I tried to watch Matrix Reloaded. I watched about 45 minutes of it, and I'm like, this is fucking horrible. And so I didn't even venture into the third one. So I would say the best two Matrix, and I haven't seen like the Animatrix or whatever, Into the Matrix or any of the other like animated versions. I would say that the Matrix and this are basically like two films. Like one is an extension of the other. They do touch on the other two Matrixes, but for primarily it is like the Matrix and then the Matrix Resurrections. Like if you just essentially watch those two films together, it would be like a one nice long film.
So is it like John Carpenter's Halloween and then the new Halloween, where it's just kind of like only these two kind of matter, but we kind of.
And I mean, there's okay. So I mean, I'm really going to be careful with any of the spoilers. You know, the Neo obviously dies in the third Matrix, right? And he is back, and so is Trinity in this film. So like obviously like they need to die in that third film because there's a whole explanation of why they're not dead in this one. So to answer your question, it is both a sequel, a reboot, and none of the above all at the same time. And they actually do a really good job of doing this. Okay, so Valerie Complex from Deadline Hollywood had this to say about it. It focuses on telling a heartfelt story that rings as true to reality as possible. This may, and I would say it is doing this, this may cause hardcore Matrix lovers to loathe the direction that's been taken, but it's a breath of fresh air for me. And I agree. Like I sat down and like I said, I watched it with really fresh eyes. I'm not also like a Matrix fanatic, but I didn't even bother watching the first one first. And I watched it, and I would say that the original Matrix is an action film with some drama. This is a drama with some action. It's actually a really good film. It's got a great story. It's not overly dependent. Like the fight scenes are still fucking great. Like, I mean, they're still doing an amazing job, but there's much more story to it. There's much more levels. And it's also super fucking meta. Like they openly mock Warner Brothers for wanting to do another sequel. Because if you talk to, like, if you read any of the comments and stuff that the Wachowskis had made throughout the years, they're like, every year Warner Brothers was like, Matrix. And they said, no. And so they openly mock that in this film.
We're still telling the same stories we've always told, just with different names, different faces.
And it's hard to not give anything away. But yeah, like it makes fun of itself. It is an homage to the original films. You get the nostalgia, you get a bunch of brand new stuff, and it actually all works. Like, you know, normally something like this, you're like, plot hole. They tie everything in. And I think the advantage there is that so this is just directed and co-written by Lana Wachowski on her own. But because she's the original creator, one of the creators, her and her sister, working with some screenwriters, is that like the canon stays tight. Like she knows where the canon went because she fucking wrote it. You know what I mean?
I still know Kung Fu.
And so it's good, man. Like it's really good. Like I said, like if you didn't need another Matrix, that's fine. But since you were going to get one, I think you'll be happy to watch this. Unless you're like, if you're showing up in fucking black and weird glasses to watch this fucking movie, you're probably not going to like it because it's going to make fun of you as well. It is going to be like, don't be a fucking loser fan person. So all you people, Schneider cut, fucking da 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 da. You're like,
You can stop that.
no, I'm
Just
not going to
stop.
stop it because
Just stop.
those fucking fan bitches need to get a fucking slap. Like, the director and the writer are like, I'm going to make a fucking movie that I want to make. And they do a really great job. So they had an sorry, if you have any questions right now, feel free to stop me because I'm going to start talking about the cinematography.
Oh, cinematography. You know, your favorite. I can almost see it.
Editing
kind
and
of.
cinematography are my favorite, then storytelling. So
Yeah, see, I'm more storytelling than anything, right? Like that's what I like.
Talking about, you love like fucking superhero movies who have some of the worst fucking scripts I've ever fucking seen. But anyway.
I said I like some of them.
Oh, okay.
I literally, did you not just hear me fucking saying like their whole release plate didn't work except for one movie?
This is true.
And now you're like,
touche.
Now you're like, and then in terms of your little Twitter bash with the Snyderverse people.
Yeah.
What did I say? What did I say about that?
You said, don't get us in trouble that I have to get you out of.
That but what did I say to the Snyderverse? Like maybe it's just better to have one.
Yes, you did say that.
You're better with one because, you know, sometimes mom and dad divorce and it works out better for the family, right? Because like for me, like here's my two takes on your little Snyderverse controversy. All these people can say what they want, but if it was me, did anybody even ask fucking Snyder if he wants to make another one? Because if it was fucking me and I got fired from a movie after my daughter committed suicide,
I wouldn't want to go back. Yeah.
I'd be like, fuck you. I'm gonna make my zombie movies at Netflix.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
for them to, that's the thing, like the toxic
fandom or whatever.
Yeah, about this thing, like it's not saying you wouldn't want to see one because fuck, I would like to see where he goes, but odds are he doesn't want to fucking do it because he doesn't want to work with these people anymore. And he probably only did like the 4-hour thing because they're like, we need something to launch HBO Max with. We'll give you all the monies to do it. And he was like, okay, I'll make a fucking 4-hour movie.
Well, he's already got the footage, right? Like he shot, like it's like just going back into the editing room.
He did
he did some
reshoots, right?
But he's
like
not making he's not making a new 4-hour film. It's a director's cut, right? So he already has a lot of that footage in camera already, right?
Yeah, and it was like, okay, I'm just gonna take what I was gonna make. Here's what my original plan was gonna be without fucking editing anything.
That's right. Anyway, you're hijacking fucking me talking about my movies to give these guys any type of sense.
Oh my god, it's like fucking what it's like for me every week.
Oh shit. So anyway, what I was gonna say about the DOP. So they had the original DOP was John Toll, who has like 2 Oscars and a nod. He did Braveheart, A Thin Red Line, Legends of the Fall, The Last Samurai. They didn't go back and use, I can't remember what his name is, the original DOP from the original Matrix trilogy. Anyway, so they got this like Oscar-winning DOP. He shows up on set. COVID fucking 17 days in, fucking COVID happens, right? And so there's a big delay in production. And then he's got some family stuff and he's like, I can't come back to finish the film. And actually Lana almost thought about just not finishing the film. He was just going to put it on the shelf and be like, fuck it. And it was because the actors were like, no, let's finish this project. Because they were excited about it. And I mean, obviously some of them were like, because I want to get fucking paid. I mean, I feel like if you're Jada Pinkett Smith, your career is not exactly fucking great. And you're probably like,
she has like one of the most popular like Facebook watch shit with that round table stuff.
Yay. Anyway.
But question for you.
Go ahead.
Was it ever revealed why Lawrence Fishburne's not in this? From what I heard,
I can't tell you. Like, you'll understand when you see it. And I mean, I think, how do you say his name? Yahya Abdul Mateen II. Is that right? Is that close?
Killed it and
Candyman. He's
Go
awesome.
back to our Candyman.
Yes. Check out our Candyman episode. He's great as Morpheus. And again, I can't really tell you why he's Morpheus, but you do learn in the film why he's Morpheus. So anyway, John Toll is like, so he's not coming back from DOP. So Daniel Muschietti, he is like this super like well-known camera operator, Steadicam operator. he basically just fucking steps up. Like, he has almost no feature film experience, like big name feature film experience as the director of photography, but because he's a Steadicam operator, he's like used to like being right on top of the monitor and like having to understand like lighting because Steadicams move around and stuff. And so he just fucking steps in and does a fantastic job. Like, it's beautifully shot. It's a lot brighter. It's not as dark and green as the original Matrix. It's got more natural light, or like they shot on location way more. The original Matrix films were mostly studio shot films, just because the Wachowskis like to have that kind of control. So, I mean, it brings back Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, both of which are Canadian, by the way. Carrie-Anne Moss is from Burnaby. She actually got a nomination for a Gemini for Due South. I was like, oh, that's interesting, which is now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she was in Due
Who
South.
is she?
She had like one episode. She got his fucking screen nod for doing like one episode of Due South. And she was actually in a Canadian TV show called, not The Matrix, but Matrix, which had to do with like assassins and that get killed, and then they end up in this like parallel kind of limbo place. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Matrix. Then she went in to be The Matrix. And then obviously we just talked about Yahya Abdul Mateen being the new Morpheus. We got Jessica Henwick, who you probably know from, you know, Iron Fist and Game of Thrones. Jonathan Groff, who I love from Hamilton. He plays the original king on the Broadway production of Hamilton.
And he's also
Kristoff in Mindhunter. What?
Well, he's Kristoff. Isn't he Kristoff in Frozen?
Yes. Yeah, in Frozen. And
that's how I know him.
And he's also in Mindhunter. Neil Patrick Harris is in this as well. And then obviously you've got Jada Pinkett Smith coming back.
No, does Neil Patrick Harris do any kung fu?
He does not. He does mental kung fu. Mind fu you. My concern though is, so I couldn't, there isn't an actual budget release. So I read a couple articles that just kind of guessed. They're like, the Wachowskis like to work in kind of like the $150-200 million range. So I kind of put it at like 175. I'm guessing the budget's probably in there. So far in the box office, it's only done about 23 million. But again, we don't know what those HBO numbers are, right? So
yeah, I think because Spider-Man's taken over, and I think Spider-Man will take over the next week.
Everything. So
yeah, so in terms of, I think the Matrix will probably be, I think it will make its money back, and it'll make its money back in theaters. I think it's going to be one of those ones that
like a slow burn.
Yeah, it's going to be steady. It's going to be steady. Number 2, number 3.
So you go to see Spider-Man, and then next weekend you see the Matrix, and then you see something else, and then you see the Matrix just kind of stays in theater.
Exactly.
Generates revenue.
I think that's how it's going to be, because I think because in terms of Rotten Tomatoes, this one's doing well as well, right? Like audience.
It's okay. It's 66 and 64 for audience. I mean, it's new, but it's new, right? So
yeah, because Spider-Man's like 98 and 97, and I don't even know, or 99 and 97. I don't even know which one's critics and which one's audience.
So I do think that the Matrix is going to suffer. So I mean, Spider-Man has a fan base, and it sounds like the fan base is being rewarded with a film they really love. Like I said, Lana she kind of mocks the fans, the hardcore fans a bit. And I think if you're a hardcore fan, like I said, if you're dressed like fucking Morpheus and you're showing up to watch this movie, you're probably not going to be happy with the direction she goes. So some of these Rotten Tomato numbers are getting pulled down. They're either negatively commenting or they're not commenting at all. You know what I mean? So this film is for like regular fucking moviegoers. Like, you don't have to be some fucking weird in the closet, in the basement nerd to fucking love this film. It's kind of like the way the original Matrix was like a really great action film.
I don't think we're going to be able to make it to year 3, to be honest.
My three what?
No, my year 3 of this podcast. Because after 2 years, we can because we can after this podcast has been in play for 2 years, we could apply to be on Rotten Tomatoes. And I don't see how we would even put in a recommendation under critic, because you'll be like, fuck these comic book nerds. And I'll be like, this is amazing. The best thing ever. They're like 50%.
Everything's 50%. Every movie, 50%.
You're like, oh my
But
god.
but yeah, so I would suggest if you can see it in the theater, do not go into it thinking it's going to be like the first Matrix or any of that stuff. Just go in with fresh eyes, almost treat it like its own film. But if you can't get to the theater, wait till it comes out on video on demand, watch it there. I think you'll be impressed. But if you go in, like I said, if you go in being like expecting like the Matrix, the first Matrix, you're not going to be happy. It's a totally different film.
Now, do you think because the sequels, like 2 and 3, they do like leave a bad taste in the mouth, right?
Again, because I think
especially-
they tried to remake. So the original Matrix is considered like one of the best made sci-fi movies of all time.
Yeah,
That's a
it
fucking
is.
high bar, man. Like,
It is. But what I'm saying is, do you think because of like the third one and then how it ended, and it was pretty much like, in my opinion, it was, just a Jesus play where, he's now sacrificing himself for this to, forgive the sins of the world. Do you think that's why it's also kind of not doing good in theaters, right? Because it did kind of twerk in terms of like religion and everything like that. So as somebody who believes in, the ramen noodle guy, did it leave something into
the ramen the ramen noodle is actually gender neutral, just so you know. I mean, it's a deity. It doesn't have a gender pronoun.
it's okay, it's a they.
It is, yeah. It's they, their broth. I don't know. I actually think that this has more to do with the hardcore fans went out in those screenings, right? And they came out and they were like, what was that? Like, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And Spider-Man is out right now. So kind of some of that similar fan base is fucking still probably seeing Spider-Man.
So you're saying there's no chance for Avatar 2 to take over, right?
Avatar 2. I thought Avatar 2 came out like in a little
Well,
bit.
but that's the thing, right? Like, I think Avatar, like in terms of films, like if you're going to compare Avatar and The Matrix, they're both deemed pretty high quality sci-fi.
Okay, I got a
movies,
question
right?
for you. How many times have you seen The Matrix? Like, just rough numbers.
Numerous.
How many times have you seen Avatar?
Twice.
There you go. They're not in the same fucking category.
And then I think, Avatar is like the second highest grossing film of all
That
time.
is not the metric of success all the time.
But that's the thing. I think, like, in terms of if you go directors, right? Like for myself, like revolutionary directors, people that made me like sit back and be like, whoa, to reference Neo. You got Spielberg,
Yeah.
you got, and Wachowskis are, if that I apologize if
I think that's how you say it. Yeah,
mispronounce
Wachowskis or Wachowskis or something.
They're there too, right? Like not only with The Matrix, but Bound.
Bound
Like,
is fucking good.
I love.
And they wrote Assassins.
Oh, with Stallone and fucking Banderas.
and Antonio Banderas, which I think suffered more from bad direction and maybe even bad casting than it did from like the concept. Like,
yeah, even fucking Speed Racer was like fun, and
do you like
what they
did
did.
you like Sense8, the show?
I've never watched it, to be honest.
I think I might
right?
actually take a look at it because that's their work as well.
Yeah, that I've never watched. But yeah, like, and that's the thing. Like,
and then there's
to
Jupiter
be honest,
Ascending and
like
Cloud
hearing you talk about it kind of makes me a little bit disappointed, because like I was hoping for something new with the camera work, or
it is new with the camera work. It's just not like you can only do so much just with like it's good. Trust me, the fucking fight cinematography is great. It's just not overly.
Did they bring
reliant.
back? They brought back the stunt coordinator, right, Chad?
That's right.
And he's the guy that,
yes, he plays hot Chad or sexy Chad or something like that.
but he's the one that took over John Wick, right? Like the two stunt coordinators from The Matrix is what built the John Wick franchise.
That's what they went off and did, right? So
yeah, but I think they brought him back, but not the other one, right? Like John Late, I think is the other director's name.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, you don't fucking know. You're just
no, I don't know.
It's like fucking talking to my wife, man. Like I fucking say shit. You're like, yeah, and then nothing's fucking right. You're just, I'm like, didn't I fucking say this? But you can just say, I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, but yeah. So watch this movie. Yeah, and then hit us up on the social media and let us know what you think. And if I don't agree with you, I'll tell you to go fuck your hat. So
Fuck your hat. Oh my god. Listen, go watch Spiderman, man. Zendaya does a lot more things than than in what she did in Dune. And you'll be like, oh fuck, she is a really good actress. And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com.
See? I can be civil.
You said you were going to yell at me a lot. You really didn't.
Well, that's because I didn't want to get into a big thing about The Harder They Fall, but like it's not a good movie, man. It's not a good movie at all. And which is disappointing. I actually thought I was expecting like True Grit.
I think I upped you up a lot.
Yeah, or like A Man with No Name, any of those in the Dollar Trilogy. It just didn't feel serious enough, and I was like, what? Like, what is going on here? Like, I want to see that Black Cowboy movie, like that fucking serious, really deep cinematography. Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.